Us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Anderson. E.J. Miller, the president of the board, who normally runs the meetings, is running a little bit late, which means I'm going to run the meeting, which means at some point I'll probably be interrupted for not having the procedures done correctly, but we'll all learn as we go along. The first order of business is open comment portion. If you want to make an open comment, you can fill out one of these yellow cards. And I think I have 2 cards. Is there anybody else interested that hasn't given a card? And the first card is from Ray Schwegman. And if I didn't pronounce it right, Mr. Schwegman, I'm sorry. I did. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I came to the last school board meeting and spoke briefly about accepting low bid contracts sometimes. I am a parent of kids at the Kirkwood School District and longtime taxpayer here as well. And I'm also a contractor in the Kirkwood area. I work for a lot of our friends and neighbors doing a wide variety of work. I don't compete for school bids. I'm not quite that big. But sometimes a low bid on the contract or low offer is hazardous. And I just want to reiterate that point this evening. It usually is fraught with one of 2 concerns, either poor quality work or a concern of the person who provided the bid didn't cover all their bases and has to charge extras. And as part of that, I found some information online, and Ms. Lewis was nice enough to lay a packet in front of everyone from the Madison County Housing Authority. They had also accepted a bid from or not accepted a bid, I'm sorry, received a proposal from the same contractor in question and did some investigating on their own and ended up contacting the St. Louis City Public Schools and got a report from them directly concerning this contractor. And there were quite a few not very positive issues, you could say. They were ranked as not at all favorable on several things, not least of which was did not meet scheduling. Extras and charges were not negotiated beforehand before they did the work and performed whatever needed to be done that was not covered in the proposal. They didn't complete within the time frame that the school district required. There were many safety concerns on that job. They didn't meet all the OSHA standards the school district felt, and there were several other things. So once again, I just would ask, as a taxpayer, I also want value for my money. I want to make sure that the work that is being done by a reputable contractor and is being done well. Low bid is important, but it needs to be measured with also quality of work and quality of project for the money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Plants?
This has been an unusual year for the leadership of Kirkwood Schools, and it's been on my heart for some time to write a letter to you. And I was reminded at the last meeting that we have a public forum, and I thought this would be a good venue for an affirmation that I would like tonight. Understanding human nature, I think most public servants hear from the complainers more than they hear from the positive reinforcement, and I'd just like to have a role in helping reverse that tonight. Many years in a school district with the quality of teachers and staff and leadership that Kirkwood has, the most visible role that the superintendent takes is deciding whether or not we have a snow day or not. And we've had more than our share of those this year. And for the record, I'd just like to say I thought you've done a pretty good job of deciding when to have it and when not to, keeping in mind student safety as well as not interrupting the process of school. But there have been a lot of other ways that Dr. Williams has been very visible this year. starting with the transfer of students from failing school districts in our area. When that first hit the airwaves, I was very proud of the way you represented us when there were other districts where parents were angrily shouting they didn't want students, and you simply voiced it that we desire to provide all students desiring a quality education to have that be available to them. And I appreciated the way you led in that, and I know the fallout from that has not always been simple or easy, but you have led well. You handled the invasion of our schools by Channel 5 and their unfair reporting with grace and humble tactfulness, and I appreciate that. We've had expenditures for capital improvements, which always brings out detractors, and yet you've explained the reasons for that. And I just want to say, Dr. Williams, I know you have had a very stressful year, and you've had more than your share of FaceTime and news media, which isn't always very comfortable. But I appreciate the way you have led us and you have represented us well. And I just want to join other citizens of Kirkwood to say thank you for doing a job, especially this year, that was more difficult than normal, very well. The appreciation I'd like to express also extends to the rest of this Board of Education as well. The quality of education in our Kirkwood schools has been measured various ways, including test scores and various recognitions, such as Kaiser Elementary being recognized as a blue ribbon school. But I'd also like to offer some anecdotal evidence of how pleased our family is with the Kirkwood School District. Our oldest daughter graduated from Kirkwood High School in 2011. When she first went to the university, she was a little bit disillusioned with her first school because she recognized that neither the facilities nor the level of instruction were up to the level that she had enjoyed in the Kirkwood school. She is now at another school that is a better fit for her, but just recently she made another comment that one of her new teachers this semester, she said, is one of the few that she has had that she thought was up to the level of teachers that she had in the Kirkwood School District. And at the age of 21, a lot of young adults, including our daughter, can be rather cynical, and for her to say something complimentary to a school does say a lot. Our oldest son graduated from Kirkwood High School last year and is now studying engineering at Rice University. Because of the AP and honors classes he is able to take at KHS and the scores he received on placement test, he enrolled at Rice already having 26 credit hours and was immediately classified as a sophomore at a fairly selective university. And that's a credit to him and his hard work, but it also speaks volumes to the quality of education he received in our Kirkwood schools. We currently have 2 students at the high school and 2 at the elementary school at Kaiser Elementary, but at every level of this school system, including the Early Childhood Center where we receive speech therapy, our family has been pleased and blessed by the people, the instruction, and the spirit of Kirkwood schools, and we are very grateful. Most people do not realize the amount of time it takes to serve on the Board of Education, and I want to commend each one of you. As I say, I know you sometimes hear the complaints more than you hear the compliments, but I'm here to say there's a vast majority of people here that are very pleased with our Kirkwood schools, and we want to say thank you. Thank you, members of the school board, and thank you, Dr. Williams, for your time, your service, and your spirit in hiring the people that you hire, setting standards of excellence, and keeping this school system moving forward. We are grateful for each and every one of you, and I hope that you hear these words more often. Signed, Ed and Elizabeth Plants.
You're welcome back anytime, Mr. Plants. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Next up is 2.02, approval of the agenda for the April 7th regular board meeting. This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, 2.03, awards and honors report. Ms. Ginger Casey.
Well, our awards and honors reports, we're going to talk a little bit about the great teachers that were mentioned earlier. So we are going to present the Teachers of the Year for the 2014-15 school year. Keep in mind, our Teachers of the Year are selected by their colleagues within their schools. So we are very proud of them, and I know the board will want to say a few words about them after I introduce them. So as I introduce you, please stand. Patty Fisher, Kirkwood Early Childhood Center, Early Childhood Special Education teacher. Robin Wellman, second grade teacher at Kaiser Elementary School. Christy McLean, second grade teacher at North Glendale Elementary School. Barb Sonderman, literacy specialist, Robinson Elementary School. Lisa Hendry, kindergarten teacher at Tillman Elementary School. Cindy Voller, gifted teacher at Westchester Elementary School. Chris Anich, drama and speech teacher at Knifer Middle School. Melissa Banjak, language arts teacher at North Kirkwood Middle School. And BJ Kenyon, social studies teacher for Kirkwood High School. These are our 2014-15 Teachers of the Year.
Well, I'll go first because you guys make it happen, and to be selected by your sorry, I'm so proud of you and so thankful for you, and I just know that you just give it your all, and I just want you to know that you're appreciated every day.
This is always one of my favorite nights of the year. This district has put so much emphasis on making sure that we are able to go out and attract and retain the best and brightest teachers, because we know the importance that you all have on the lives of our children. You make a difference that will last generations. You need to be aware of that every single day, the impact that you have on those kids, their families, and this community is very difficult to measure. As Maria's mentioned, you have been selected by your peers as the best of the best. You should all be very proud. I'm just very proud to know all of you and to know that how much you've meant to this district for these years, and congratulations.
I think it's wonderful to represent the best of what is really one of the privileges of being on the board, is getting to understand and know how we really go after, recruit, and retain the best teachers in the county. And so to be and in the state, and so be represented of that group and to be elected to where you are really speaks a lot. And I know it takes a tremendous amount of dedication and personal sacrifice away from your family and things that you may or may not want to be doing, and really for the kids. And I know that's who you put first, and it really motivates us to continue to help support you so you can do what you do. So thank you and congratulations.
Just thank you, congratulations. I think what you do is you personify what this district is all about, and you know, an emphasis on great teachers, and that just translates into the classroom. And I've had, thankfully, personal experience with some of you, and it lasts to this day. I mean, what you do every day, it carries on not just with that year, but throughout the year. So thank you and congratulations.
So yay, congratulations. So I have still little ones in the elementary school, and sometimes every day I hate to see them go. I'm sure that might change as they start to get older, but I still hate to see them go. But every time they get out of the car, I just know they're going into the greatest hands of the teacher. So thank you for everything you do each and every day for our kids and for the parents and just for the whole community. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Again, I echo what the rest of the board has said. A couple months ago, well, it was in February, we did a release day, and we spoke a lot about the effect and the impact that we can have on children, and you guys personify that. You live it every day. So thank you very much for the hard work that you do in our district. We are very lucky to have you.
Yeah, I concur with what all of my fellow board members have had to say. Thank you for the hard work. It's nice, I bet, to see how that hard work pays off. Congratulations for being selected by your peers as the best of the best. Thanks.
We're always trying to find indicators that, that are compelling reasons or examples of success in the Kirkwood School District. And we are a high-achieving district, so we're always trying to identify those things. And it's, is it technology? Is it the reference materials? Is it facilities? But it always comes back to we have the finest and the highest quality of teachers, and staff of any other district around. So congratulations and thank you for the work you do.
Next up is the consent agenda, and we'll take this in two parts. 3.01, approval of the minutes for the March 10th regular meeting. 3.02, approval of the minutes for the March 10th closed meeting. These are action items.
Move approval.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And any abstentions?
Abstention.
One abstention. Thank you. Next up, we'll take together 3.03, approval of vouchers payable, 3.04, approval of personnel items, and 3.05, approval of support staff salary package and rehiring of support staff. These two are action items.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving 3.03, 3.04, and 3.05, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's passed unanimously. Next up, unfinished business. 4.01, Westchester School Improvement Report. Dr. Chris Clay.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just wanted to share, I chose this slide formation, or slide presentation, just because it made me think, first of all, wanting spring to come, but then it also made me think about the journey that we are on continually as educators and the learning that we encounter each and every year. Our mission at Westchester Elementary, we're a diverse learning community where stakeholders collaborate to become creative problem solvers who make responsible choices and persevere in a complex and dynamic world. And this mission was created last year by all of our stakeholders, and it mirrors in what you guys have talked about with our strategic plan. And this is a picture of our students at one of our early assemblies at the beginning of the school year. And our vision and how we will know that we're being successful with our mission is if our students and staff have a growth mindset about themselves and others, they take an active role in improving our school and community, participate in decisions about their learning, and that's the one we're really working on for the future, respecting themselves and others, embracing individual differences, seeking to understand others and communicate respectfully, making responsible choices time at school, and supporting each other through teamwork and proactive problem solving. And what you've all been waiting for are school improvement goals. We have 3 school improvement goals. Goal 1, in a nutshell, is all about student achievement and good instruction, quality instruction. Goal 2 is around a respectful and inclusive community, and that's that unite piece that we have. And then goal 3 is around students and staff having high expectations for personal growth. Every single teacher in our building is a member of one of the goal teams. So we have 3 goal teams. They meet quarterly. They look at data. They actually look at our school improvement plan on a regular basis. And they look at the strategies that we're implementing to make sure that we're moving forward. And now the data. This is a snapshot. It's really hard. There's so much data, and we can only have so many slides for this presentation. So I really tried to streamline the data to what would be most meaningful for you. So this is a snapshot of each of our grade levels last year, so their performance on the MAP test, which was a year ago pretty much. And so as you can see, our 4th and 5th grade students overall did much better than our 3rd grade students in both ELA and math. I do want to celebrate the growth that our students made. So if you'll see the 5th grade students' growth, that first score is the percentage of students when they were in 4th grade that scored proficient advanced, and then the growth they made when they moved to 5th grade. So there was an 8% growth there approximately. Our math, I really want to celebrate, it was a 16% growth from 4th to 5th grade last year. So that's a huge celebration. Our current 5th grade students, so this would be our students that were in 4th grade last year, so their growth from 3rd to 4th grade, approximately 4% grew in the area of ELA. And our math, unfortunately, kind of remained the same. Not as much growth as we had hoped there for the whole student population. And then as you can see, our 3rd grade students have a lot of growth potential, and we're really confident that this year that they're going to do that for us. Again, trying to look at data in as many different ways as possible. This is kind of a snapshot from the balcony, so to speak. I combined grades 3, 4, and 5. So it's looking at the last 2 years. We had 219 students in grades 3, 4, and 5 last year. 175 of them were identified as white students, and 44 students were identified as non-white students. So as you can see in ELA, you can see there's slight growth from both all of the groups. And then in math, you can see there's growth for sure with our non-white students. So I think that's a celebration. And then I took the data to look at it a little differently. Now we're looking at subgroup data. If you'll remember back with the AYP that we used to be held accountable for, we looked at white students, black students, free and reduced lunch, and IEP students. So these are the percentage of students scoring at that proficient or advanced level. I also included that super subgroup. That super subgroup is something now that we're looking at that's for APR, and that includes students who are black, Hispanic, or ELL, English language learners, free and reduced lunch, or IEP students. They'd have to fall in one of those categories. So I just wanted to kind of, so you could see the difference when you look at the different subgroups. Our white students have continued to grow in ELA. As you can see, it's a small but steady trend upward. Our black students have shown growth in the last year. Our free and reduced lunch students in both ELA and math are continuing to grow. The biggest, I guess, question I have and that we're working on is looking at our students with IEPs. If you'll see in both of the charts, there's a slight downward trend there. And then overall, our math scores, there's a dip there. So we definitely have gaps that we need to address. However, there are some celebrations that I just wanted to point out. 59% of non-white students scored proficient or advanced, which was an 8.5% increase from the previous year. And then 47% of students receiving free and reduced lunch also increased their scores by 8%. In the area of math, I already celebrated our 5th grade students. That 16% increase was pretty remarkable. And then we had 56% of our non-white students score proficient or advanced, which was a 12% increase. One of the slides I cut that I love to look at, and I don't know if you guys like to watch graduating classes as they go through, it's pretty amazing to see the growth from 3rd to 4th to 5th to 6th, because every year that group of students, they grow. It's really awesome. So wanted to celebrate that. Another celebration are new students. We had 60 new 1st through 5th grade students this year, which was a huge amount of students compared to typically we always had around 30 students that were new to Westchester. 28 students came from Riverview and Normandy, so that's a picture of the first day as they're getting off the bus. I also want to celebrate our teachers. I feel like this year has been one of the toughest years. I've been at Westchester for 12 years, is around all the new learning that they've had this year. These are just a few of the new things that they've had to learn this year. I'm sure you remember Infinite Campus Gradebook. That's how we began the school year. We had a new writing curriculum, which was exciting, but that also meant new report card rubrics that also connected to the Infinite Campus Gradebook. We had a new writing program that was also a resource for teachers that was new learning. Edline we started last spring, but this was the rollout for parents, so that was new learning on how to communicate with parents using Edline. Of course, iPads, the new Common Core and Missouri Learning Standards. Every single grade level teacher, classroom teacher, was assigned to a curriculum writing committee, so some of them have never written curriculum before, so that was new learning. And then we had our Olveus anti-bullying program that we did in all the elementary schools. So teachers really worked hard this year. Also want to celebrate the Unite activities that have been ongoing in our building for the last 4 years. We have our Olveus program that I shared with you that it meshes so well with our PBS and our character education program. We've also had NCADA come in and help be a partner for the last 2 years with friendship lessons and social skills lessons in our classrooms. We received the Missouri Gold Level PBS Award for the 7th year in a row, which is a huge celebration. Around educational equity, we've been reading the Boys Adrift book, and it's been a great conversation. We've had wonderful conversations, and it's really changed some practices in classrooms, so that's been great. We've looked at data a little differently, like I'll show you back on this slide. As you can see, we really put pictures and faces to the data. We divided into students who were working below grade level, students on grade level, students working above grade level. And that's been very powerful to actually see the faces and really see the growth that children are making. iPads, of course, giving every child their own personalized learning device would be supporting educational equity. And then our service learning, we've been doing so many projects over the years. We've continued our lock-in for Project Playground, and I hope that we've paid up, okay? We've continued our community leaf raking, school-wide pancake supper, food drive, and numerous grade level projects. This is a huge celebration. Last summer we had 9 of us went to Webster University for 3 days, Sustainability Institute for educators. And a lot of new learning happened, and then a lot of interest happened and excitement. And so our 5th grade team decided to participate in the Missouri Botanical Gardens LEAP program. And so they had leaders come in and share with them and with the students new learning around sustainability and things you can do in your school, especially in regard to waste management. So then our 5th grade created leadership teams around these areas, and they actually developed a brand new system in our cafeteria. So we have efficient waste management occurring, and the students are kind of taking responsibility for that as well as for teaching the whole school. So that's been pretty cool. As a result of our Dream Day last year, we had our big Dream Day where we surveyed all of our students and staff and parents, and there was really an interest in developing a garden. So we actually have a garden now at Westchester. We planted our first lettuce and beans 2 weekends ago. And so we have parents working with our teachers and our students to create that farm-to-table system. Our 2nd grade students have been so cute. They've been working hard to do any kind of service learning project they can come up with to earn money for rain barrels, and they finally reached their goal last week. So we're purchasing rain barrels this week, which will help with our new garden. Although with all the rains, we really don't need them right now. And then, of course, thank you for the solar panels that are on our roof. That helps as well. I also want to celebrate just our school culture it's just felt so good to be at Westchester the past 2 years. We've had new students, we've had quite a few new staff members. We have this beautiful new office. Again, thank you very much for that. And I think that the neatest thing, we did a school culture audit. We hadn't followed the school culture audit in the last few years, but we actually decided to bring it back this year, and 100% of our teachers felt like that they love coming to school and learning at Westchester. So I thought that was a huge celebration. I like to celebrate that there's a lot of shared leadership among our staff with bus duty, with faculty meetings, with staff development. Everyone's sharing responsibility for that, which with shared responsibility leads to, of course, ownership for all. So. But we still have work to do, and our journey continues. I've really had a lot of conversations with the staff members this year, and I promised them next year that we're going to focus on one thing, and we're going to do it well. We're going to focus on instructional practices. What does good instruction look like in the 21st century? So these are a few of the things that we will be focusing on and having conversations around. And a lot of these things we're already doing, we're just going to get better at doing them. The deliberate lesson planning, purposeful instruction, to promote problem solving, getting students more involved, continuing differentiation, systematic use of data. The big one for me is the effectively using all staff. We're really looking at all of the staff, our instructional coaches, instructional specialists, interventionists, and how we can better use them to help our students and our staff learn. So I've got a new model. We're going to try that next year, so I'll be happy to tell you about that next year. And as our journey continues, to ensure that learning and growth for all occur at Westchester. And we rock, in case you didn't know. So that's it.
Chris, I'm interested to know what the data showed or what you've been able to divine from the data. What happened between 4th and 5th grade in math? What were the factors that propelled that growth?
Well, I think we made the math time was actually longer. We had some new intervention programs that we tried that we hadn't used in the past. So I think the combination of those things, and I think too it was a new team, a fairly new team of people working closely together. And I think when you have a new team, you have to depend on each other in order to share what's happening. So I think there was quite a few reasons around that. And I do think we took the pilot Smarter Balance as well last year, and we did that in the area of math. And I do think that kind of got kids more excited too about what they knew. So I don't know. I wish I could answer just one thing, one reason, but I think there was a multitude of reasons for the increase. but we had very high expectations also for that class. So.
Thanks.
Great job. Great job. Thank you very much. That was awesome. So a couple questions I have though. Your building, are you at capacity or what do you look like numbers wise?
We still have some room, a little bit of room. Like we have some of our special education classes are actually in a full-size classroom, where if we needed that classroom, we could use that classroom, for a regular classroom. Probably if we increase our enrollment by another 60, we would be beyond capacity. So we could probably, 2 more classes would probably be on.
Nice. And also what's something that's needed? What do you think your biggest need would be at your building?
Our facility subcommittee, we're thinking of all kinds of things. Goodness. I guess the first thing that popped into our mind, which is, you don't probably want to hear this, but our brand new office with new staff, having an administrative intern that will be there full time, which we don't currently have, and then having educational support counselor full time, which we don't currently have, and wanting to keep everyone within the range of where we could continue to keep communication lines open. So that's something that popped into our minds. Probably the biggest thing that everyone feels we need is a new cafeteria. I know we need a new kitchen. We get cited sometimes each year because some of our equipment is a little old. And so my vision would be that we would take our current cafeteria and make it our library, and then build a new cafeteria, a new kitchen. That would be, by money or no object, that would be, I think, the best thing that would help our school and community as far as making that library the center of the building where the cafeteria is. So, but we've got a lot of great things on our list.
That's a really interesting point, though. I think that might, where that is located and everything, that's could be a viable option. Thank you, Chris. Real nice information, everything much appreciated. I am, just to drill down a little bit regarding the 28 children that are from Riverview and Normandy total. How, in general, how's that interaction gone with their families, and what special things have your teachers and staff done to try to make them A, feel welcome, B, get involved, C, get on the learning schedule and everything with all of our children and everything? Anything?
Well, at the beginning of the school year, I made personal phone calls to every family and invited them, to come up so we could meet them. And I think it's been a wonderful process. I feel like the teachers have really done a great job of matching them up with other families within the grade level team so that they can participate in things after school. As far as students assimilating into Westchester, I think it's been great. The only issue probably would be the bus. It's a long bus ride. I've ridden it a couple times, and it's an hour and a half to the last drop off. So if you can imagine sitting on a hot bus, so that's probably our biggest challenge. But there are just so many wonderful things that have happened as a result of this, as far as new friendships and new learning opportunities. I don't know, I could go on and on. It's been a wonderful experience. So.
Hey, Chris. So yeah, what I've seen is firsthand from the inclusion of the kids from Riverview Gardens and Normandy, it's been great, at least at the 5th grade level. So that's been nice to see. And a lot of kind of friendships that have developed. And then I'd echo the point in the cafeteria. I think you got lunches that start all the way from like before 11 a.m. all the way until maybe 1 p.m. And it just breaks up the day in a lot of weird ways. It's really poor use of everybody's time when you got so many kids going back and forth. My question is just around, I know your teachers have had a lot going on, but in terms of your experience around the iPad rollout and how that's gone, and any learnings that you'd want to pass on.
I think it's gone really well. I think the biggest challenge that they're trying to, because we really think it needs to be consistent as a team, as a grade level team, is some teachers are more ready to let them go home sooner than other teachers are ready. That whole responsibility and making sure that students are feeling that they can use it as a responsible digital citizen. So I think that's probably our biggest challenge, is just coming together and everyone agreeing if we should move forward. So our 5th grade students, of course, have had them since the beginning of the year. Our 4th grade students, they've had them since end of January, early February, and they're just beginning to send them home in April. So I think it's that 3rd grade that's not really sure what to do. But the kids are really loving them. You walk in, classroom students are so engaged. They're doing so many wonderful things. So it's been a good transition.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for your report. Great news. Just a question, because I was trying to look this up. I didn't find it. your enrollment is about is it 417 or 417?
It's like 450,
450
or something, I
Okay.
think.
And I was just wondering how it has changed over the last few years with full-day kindergarten
Okay.
in other
Well,
schools, and
yeah.
if it's,
I think we're on an upward spiral. I think Charlize is your expert in the area of projected student enrollment, but definitely we kind of were just hanging around 430, around in there for a long time, in probably the last 4 or 5 years. But like I said, we've not had 60 new students in grades 1 through 5 in a long time. We already have 64 completed kindergarten packets returned, plus 12 more. So I mean, we've got a lot of early enrollment that we've never had before, so I'm anticipating more growth for next year.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you. And these are for Mr. Stewart, this is for you. I don't think I can use that.
Next item up is 4.02, NIFR School Improvement Report. Dr. Michelle Condon and Dr. Laura Havener.
Good evening. Well, this is not Dr. Laura Havener. But we do have a little surprise for you tonight. This is our orchestra teacher, Miss Fariga Drayton, and she has some fantastic news to share with you before we start.
Last year, the NIFR Orchestra was selected to perform at the MMEA, the Missouri Music Educators Association conference back in January. And we had a great turnout. The kids performed a wonderful concert. Actually, he was there and he played with us. And on a whim, we decided to submit an application for the Midwest Clinic, which is an international competition. Groups from around the world submit their application, a CD, a DVD of a rehearsal, 3 references, and a prayer. And we submitted, I haven't even told the students I've submitted this, we're keeping it a secret. I submitted it back in March, early part of March, and I just received notice last Monday that we have been selected to perform in December. We're probably one of 10 or 11 orchestras performing that have been selected from around the world. And I'll know for sure exactly how many, but they only pick 40 ensembles to play. And we're just excited to represent NIFR, the Kirkwood School District, and our area. We're the first Kirkwood ensemble to perform at Midwest in the history of the conference. And we're just excited, we're elated. So we have copies of our MMEA performance for each of the board members. We won't be playing these selections in December, but this is from our January concert.
Congratulations. Thank you.
So Fariga received that news last week, and we wanted to wait to share the news with everyone until tonight's board meeting. So the students will find out tomorrow. So Jared, mum's the word, right? Jared's here tonight because he has something special to share with you at the end of our presentation. So I'll go ahead and begin, and we can start with some data. So we're really proud of our MAP scores, the results of the hard work of our teachers and students at NIFR Middle School. You can see that we've had a steady increase over the last 5 years in our English language arts scores. We have been increasing in math. We kind of leveled off this year, but we plan to take care of that this year with the upcoming scores. And then to take a look at some of our subgroup scores of our students. Some things that we are proud of, if you take a look, our African American students' achievement has been increasing. Our free and reduced lunch students have increased somewhat, and then our overall white student achievement has increased. We were a little disappointed in the achievement of our IEP students, and I noted, was trying to figure out why we've had a decrease in that area. And so I kind of took a look historically to find some information. we have decreased over the last 5 years from having 17% of our students with IEPs down to 11% of our students with IEPs. And so it's my theory that because of the implementation of our response to intervention process, that the teachers in the classroom are addressing the needs of students, and fewer of our students are receiving IEPs, and the students who are receiving IEPs are the students with the greater needs. So in my mind, that's one reason why the decrease in the achievement of the students with IEPs. We're really proud of our math achievement. Our African American students have shown growth in their MAP scores in math in particular, and our free and reduced lunch students as well. This is just a slide to kind of share with you our strategies for addressing our achievement gap at NYFER. That's always our first school improvement goal, is to address our achievement gap. And the first thing we do is we take a look at our MAP scores in the beginning of the year, and we identify students who are basic or below basic on the MAP. And then we provide regular assessments through using acuity and curriculum-based measurements for both ELA and math to take a look at moving students into interventions. Through those interventions, we provide direct instruction. We progress monitor their growth with those assessments again, and then begin the process over. And this process occurs quarterly, so we move students in and out of interventions quarterly to really try and address specific needs. We have 2 additional goals for this school year. One is really taking a look at making sure our 8th grade students are finishing at NYFER reading at or above grade level, and that our students at NYFER Middle School have an increased sense of safety and belonging. We have overall literacy strategies. Last year, we had a literacy committee come together to take a look at how we as a whole building could increase the awareness of teaching literacy within every content. And this year, we've had some implementation of those findings. We have science classrooms who are providing articles, nonfiction reading for students, and selecting articles by Lexile, and then grouping students so that students are reading articles on the same topic but at their reading level so that they can understand the content more effectively. Our social studies teachers are beginning to explore using document-based questioning, which uses first sources and then taking a look at questioning those sources and drawing conclusions from them. Our math teachers have come together to establish common vocabulary and are writing more about the process that they use in solving problems through journals. And then our orchestra classes are researching music history and some of our great composers. So you can see that all of our content areas are have an increased awareness. We also provide 3 levels of reading intervention for students that we assess as reading below grade level. We start with a reading applications course and then become more intense for students with a reading strategies course, and that's for students reading 1 year or more below grade level. Students reading 2 years or more below grade level are provided with an iRead or reading focus class. The interventions become more intense. So our reading strategies class is a 45-minute class, and then the iRead or reading focus class is a 90-minute class. And this is in addition to the core classes that students have. We've done some creative scheduling in order to make this work at NYFER. So we have been kind of measuring and I think I gave some good news last year. This is a way that we're measuring our implementation of PBIS. We began to utilize PBIS in 2009. We were trained that summer. And as you can see, this is the number of our office referrals each year. Now this year, we're at 185. We have about 1 quarter left to go. So this is through 3rd quarter. So we are projected to be at, I think, 230 if we go along according to where our trend has been in the past. So we're really proud of that. We really take a look at the behavior data monthly and make adjustments as needed.
And Dr. Conant, PBIS, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Positive behavior interventions and supports. NYFER was trained that summer of 2009 to implement, and it's an ongoing teaching of appropriate behaviors, recognition of positive behaviors, and then consistent consequences for behaviors that are not appropriate, and reteaching of appropriate behaviors. And our teachers are really all on the same track now, so everyone understands what kind of behaviors are acceptable, what are reteachable behaviors, and what behaviors come to the office. So we're all on the same track. This, I think, has made the hugest difference this year. So we also implemented the OAS bullying prevention program at NYFER. We were trained this summer as a staff. We had a big parent kickoff back in November where we invited our community. And then we administered student surveys to get a baseline understanding of where we are, where we need to make improvements, where our pockets of perception of bullying was happening among our students. And then we've been continuing to hold class meetings every other Friday through contact class. I think some of the teachers were a little hesitant about opening up their classrooms into a circle formation at middle school and talking about middle school student behaviors. Afraid to maybe open the door a little bit. But this has been such a positive, made such a positive change in our climate. I think that we are really embracing becoming a caring community, and our students are so aware of what bullying is and what to do if they witness bullying. We've got bullying bully boxes around the building to report bullying. We have ways for students to report it electronically, and someone always responds. And we do it in a very discreet way, so the kids are really building a sense of trust with us, knowing that we're going to address situations without it coming back to them for the repercussions. Our PTO bought every student a SUP shirt. SUP stands for Students Uplifting Peers, and that's the NYFER logo for our bullying prevention program. We're also working on building some community within our school by raising money to, this is not our pavilion, it's not built yet. This is North Glendale's. Ours will look similar, a little bit of color changes. But we're raising money. The NYFER students raised $5,000 through collecting box tops, believe it or not. Board, we would like to thank you all for contributing money to the construction of our pavilion. And also our PTO is willing to chip in to make that happen for us. We started this year really over the summer with Kelly Dickinson, one of our teachers, embracing the theme of grit. All of our teachers really embrace that whole theme in helping the kids understand that really it's through hard work and perseverance that you really grow and learn. And it's extended to other classes like our math classes and our SOAR class. Jared Goudsmith is here tonight to talk with you he has 1 minute, and he's going to talk about grit, perseverance, and kind of show you a product of what he designed as a result of his hard work. Jared?
Hello. Okay, so I'm here to talk about how we've been studying two of the main things we've been studying in SOAR recently are coding and grit or perseverance. And the reason we're studying coding is because we've learned that only 1 in 10 schools actually study coding. And yet, some of the best, highest paying jobs in America are being given to people from other countries because nobody knows how to code. So we've been learning how to code because that's important. And we've also been learning about how perseverance, grit, and even struggle, initial struggle, can be good and healthy for you. And I think that a cool thing about it is how what we do is the Scratch website, that's sort of a simplified version of coding. And in the process of learning about struggle and coding about it, we struggle through coding, which is so bear with me through that. So so it sort of creates a web of understanding, and even since we've started to study the brain, we've bear with me again, understood that understanding. So we're sort of creating this web of information, and as my video says, struggle can be important. And I'm starting to wander here, so I will end the speech. Enjoy the video.
Hello there, my name's Jim Stigler of the University of Michigan. I'm going to tell you about some interesting data I found when studying teaching methods. This information may change the way we view struggle and how well students persevere in the future. During my study, I noticed a key difference in the way American and Asian communities view struggle. In an American household, struggle tends to be viewed as a bad thing, an antonym of success. Struggle. It's terrible. It's anti-intelligence. If you struggle at something, you're just plain bad at it. But don't worry. If you don't struggle, you must be intelligent. And we all know that intelligence means success. Well, I guess that must be true. The mentality of struggle being a bad thing causes American children to not want to work hard, but only do what they are talented at. This will greatly affect them negatively later in life. Uh-oh, this assignment is difficult. I'm struggling at it. I must be terrible at this. This paper is too hard for me. It's not my fault. I just haven't learned it. How could I be expected to do this? There's no possible way I could succeed. In Asian culture, however, there is a very different view of struggle. There, struggle is viewed as an opportunity to improve. What do you think of my work? Did I do a good job? It's very unique, but you might want to check it over a bit. Okay, I'll keep working at it. After all, I am struggling, and struggling means perseverance, and we all know that perseverance means success. In a test, it was found that those thinking of struggle as good worked 120 times longer than those with an anti-struggle view. It would help us achieve more if we changed our viewpoint on this concept. Thanks for watching. Bye.
So Jared really personified what we're working on this year through that, by coding that video for us. Is there anything else that I can help you with tonight? I would like to thank Ms. Ellen Schneider, who's here. She really helped to create the slides for tonight's presentation, and Dr. Havener, who's always there to help with data. So I really appreciate, we really all work together as a team. NYFER.
Thank you for the update and the report. I've got a couple of questions regarding the iPad rollout. How has that been going now? You're kind of almost 2 years in a couple of classes. And if you could also explain what adjustments you've been made to accessibility and certain other functions as you've rolled them out.
Well, we've had to update our internet accessibility in the building, which has been successful. That's always a success. The kids love them. They have embraced them. We've dealt with a few, because middle schoolers, typical middle schoolers, losing the iPads, a few instances of damage. And ironically, it's happening at school, not when the kids take them home. But really, our parents have been very receptive. The teachers are really excited. And the more they use them and the more that they are able to share with each other, the more confident they are in being able to use them. Science teachers in particular.
I know that after they were in place for a while, some of the functionality was turned down or throttled back.
Gotcha. Right. Right.
Reasons, how did that work? And
well, we started the year with our 8th graders using them, and they had some capabilities like downloading apps of their choice, and a lot of game apps were being downloaded, and then teachers found that students were off task in the classroom. There was some instant messaging that was going on that was kind of inappropriate. So we decided as a staff, we came together to talk about it and took off the students' capability to download apps of their choice. So the teachers are using the core apps, and we're really emphasizing to the kids that this is a school tool. You know, that there are all kinds of technologies at home to play games on, but this is really, it's a school resource. So, you know, we've talked about the possibility of reinstating that freedom for the kids, but I think that we jumped into it with our 8th graders without enough education prior to their getting them to understand how to use the iPads appropriately. So we did have to do a little backtracking. So, question.
First, thank you very much, Dr. Condon. That was very nice. Jared, that was very amazing. I'm impressed. And really, you showed a lot of grit putting that together and a lot of courage to get up here and speak to us. So thank you very much for doing that and putting that together. Dr. Condon, so as a parent who has seen firsthand response to intervention and what it can do, and I think you make a good point, because response to intervention in mind, you think it would sort of lower your IEP number. And I think we see it bearing that out. And I want to thank you for your hard work in that, because, like I said, my daughter has really taken advantage of all that help. So in your building, what do you think is something that's a need?
A need facilities-wise?
Either one. Facilities, what's something in your mind that's needed?
Just among the staff, we're refocusing on differentiating instruction based on some of the things that we're learning about in Unite. Gender differences among students, students of different socioeconomic backgrounds. So we're really kind of refocusing on differentiation, which was a big push about 10 years ago, but maybe with a different lens. So we're going to start working on that. We have actually started working on that. And then facility-wise, you know, we're working on the pavilion now. We really would like to move forward with our counseling center on the 2nd floor of our school. It's a large open area to allow the counselors to be a little bit more collaborative in their work with kids. Right now their offices are very small and segmented. And then beyond that, you know, Mr. Anich was here. He had won Teacher of the Year for the speech and drama program. We really kind of hurting in a performance venue for our kids. We perform on a stage in the gym, and so, you know, PE classes have to move, and so it sure would be awesome to have a performing arts facility.
Nice.
Why not? Right? Why not?
And what about numbers? Are you guys at capacity in your building?
We are pretty tight in numbers. We were at 604 5 years ago. This year we're at 614, but next year it looks like we'll be at about 630. We're losing a large 8th grade class, but we're getting an even larger 6th grade class. So our numbers are really increasing. So.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This is a great report, and I really appreciate the clarity in the numbers. It's very easy to read. I had a question about literacy strategies, and I was just wondering how much Common Core has driven that, if any. That's one question. And then just a little bit more on how your teams are getting together to implement this. I remember when my daughters were there, I remember RAPS, Reading as a Part of Science. Is that the science piece that you're talking about here too?
Yes, yeah, the science teachers are using different strategies to try to integrate literacy, yes. And as far as implementation of our literacy strategies, the impetus to get our literacy committee together did begin with Common Core, because I think the ELA teachers saw the challenges that were coming down the road, and I think we're feeling like they really needed some help in supporting our kids. And that really, if you're teaching English language arts, it shouldn't be 90 minutes every other day. It's really infused in everything that we do. And our teachers were very receptive to that, because our kids read in social studies, they read in science class, they read in math class, really across the board. And even our industrial tech teacher knows kids read manuals, you know, nonfiction all the time. So everybody understands that reading is a vital part of what we do. And that's why we really decided to focus our goal on specifically on reading.
I just wanted to mention too, I was at a legislative advocacy breakfast on Saturday, and I was talking to Mr. Stream, Representative Stream. Sorry, I had a brain block. And he was talking about the Common Core curriculum. And one of the things I told him that I noticed going from NYFOR to the high school was that the transition in the English area was a lot smoother than it was when my son was going through the same exact situation 8 years ago.
Good.
So I think that's because of, I think Common Core has helped with that. But I wanted to give you kudos because it's been really nice, and it was really hard with Christopher. And then on another, I won't take any more.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Next up is 4.03, approval of curriculum revisions to World Language, AP Art History, AP Calculus. Dr. Raker.
Thank you. And we have quite a potpourri of different curricular areas that we are seeking your approval on tonight. And we're going to begin with World Language. And here to present World Language are Nick Strecker and Marco Mariscal.
Good evening.
Good evening. Cool.
Dr. Mariscal and I are here tonight to present to you revised curriculum for world languages, grades 7 through 12. We first convened a committee in November of 2012 to begin this process, looking at big ideas. We actually spent what we thought was time, important time, building foundations around big ideas, essential questions, and enduring understandings in what were then termed world languages, but divided up by language. One of the big ideas that we arrived at and decided to sort of plant our flag on was the idea that we would approach this curriculum revision as a world languages curriculum revision. So the work you see before you is these 8 individuals working in concert with each other, not by a specific language, but looking at their language through the lens of world language learners. So Marco's going to take you through our approach, which was the EBD, building backwards from these ideas, but always bearing in mind that our intent here was to try to approach this curriculum revision in a way that had not been done before, building some common themes between all the languages.
Thank you. And that's where I want to pick up, because it was very important that there was a very conscious decision that we would come together as world language teachers and not as teachers of the individual languages, French, Spanish, German, and Chinese, which Ms. Kolba will talk about in a few minutes as well. We looked at the AP's themes in the process of understanding by design and planning backwards. And then we chose the ACTFL standards. The ACTFL standards are the standards of the American Council of Teachers of Foreign Language. Their 5 principles, communities, communication, cultures, connection, and comparison, are describe all the standards for world language education in the United States. And we chose theirs because they don't just focus on AP, they kind of encompass all levels of world language learning. So then we started a very lengthy conversation, which took many hours. I'll give you the abbreviated version tonight, of what a unit is. We took the 5 C's, as we call them in the ACTFL standards, and decided those were our units. A short history of our explanation was what we struggled with as teachers is we talk about a unit, we saw a period of time in which a student enters a classroom. We approach a unit in the traditional sense, and at the end of the unit, there is a summative assessment and we assess student learning. Well, we decided that we'll approach this a little different and that we take these 5 C's across the languages, look at the standards, and call those our units. So that whenever you walk into one of our classrooms through the Kirkwood School District, you will see that regardless of the level in which students are learning the world language in or the language, one of these units will be worked on. That gave us a very nice opportunity to come together as a group of world language teachers. So it is not a beginning and an end to a unit, but those are then learning targets and learning goals that each teacher in each language and at each level will determine across the languages or with the languages. So each one of the C's has standards attached to them, and we unpacked them and we looked at them, how they could connect to all of our languages regardless of the level. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take these standards and look at them from each language specifically, and then figure out what it means by what does it mean to be a German 1 student, a German 2 student, German 3 student, German 4 student, and an AP student. So all these standards will be reflected in our curriculum. Our curriculum work is not completed. What we're presenting to you tonight is the curriculum of what it means to be a world language student in Kirkwood, but there is more work to be done in the individual languages to take us to the next level of what it looks like at the what specifically is being taught in the classrooms. And that just kind of revises a bit more what I just spoke about. So each language is built on a common foundation of these 5 comprehensive units, defining shared learning targets derived from the ACTFL standards. So we, as Nick described at the beginning, we spent about a year and a half ago, we spent some time looking at big ideas and understanding by design concept, and that's how we revolved this entire discussion around. We had an end in mind, knew where we wanted to go, and we focused on students and took a lot of discussions on what that meant to be a world language student in Kirkwood, and we really spent a lot of time on the discussion, hours and hours. And that's what we have for you.
Any questions for Mark or Nick?
You do have the BYOC documents. You have access to them.
And if I could just interject a little bit of information. What Marco and Nick have presented for you here this evening is what we typically ask the board to approve, and that is, you know, all of the goals and the assessments and the outcomes that we are hoping for students. What Marco's referring to in terms of next steps, that's what actually happens in the classroom on a daily basis. That typically isn't our board-approved curriculum. That's what teachers are teaching when they greet the students, when they walk in the classroom. And so I want to just put in my 2 cents worth in terms of a congratulations to you and your team for this process that was very innovative, very forward-thinking, and extremely collaborative in terms of recognizing that really the goals of all foreign languages are the same. They are in concert. It's then what the individual languages do in the classroom to teach their own particular language. That's where they're stepping off at this point in time.
Thank you.
What is the timeline for the next phase of that, or is
well, April 19th, and we're hoping to put in a few summer work days, and I mean, really beginning of the school year, we're hopeful to have them. I mean, that's a big hope, but we think we can. Considering the work that led us up to this point was very encouraging, and it put down a lot of groundwork for the next steps to happen quicker. This curriculum we're presenting to you tonight is a great reference point for the work that is to come now. All the learning goals, all the learning targets will be anchored to those standards that we presented to you. And really, as us, we have a group of educators who have been working together as world language teachers for a very long time. We're very comfortable with the with the work evolving world language standards, I think this is going to be a very efficient and streamlined work, I hope. But it feels like the groundwork we've done now was rather tedious. We're getting to a point now where we can really work on our expertise.
So before asking you to vote on this, I want to introduce Sherry Culpa. Sherry's been working in concert with Idrin Chin on the Chinese honors curricula, because those are brand new. As you recall, recently you approved the beginning Chinese courses, and now we're ready to move our students forward.
To speak to the quality of the work that was done by Nick and Marco and the rest of the world language teachers, it really was the piece that helped create the Chinese document that you have. This document has been in the works for about 2 years, actually, which is why it's a little bit off cycle and not included in that original work. But a couple of years ago, after we implemented our entry-level Chinese program, Idrin went to Mike Gavin, who was the supervising principal for that department, and shared with him that she had recognized a need for some enrichment in that course, that there were students in the Kirkwood School District who were receiving instruction in Chinese outside of our district, for example, on Saturday mornings, students who were very quick to pick up a language because they had had exposure in other areas. And so she was wanting to be able to challenge them more and was asking advice on how to do that. And as they had the conversation, it became clear that there was a real need for an actual curriculum in this area. It wasn't something we would just be able to do through differentiation. We were going to have to really study this and design a curriculum so that there was a systematic approach to providing this level of instruction for kids. So Idrin worked on her own. She came to me. We met several times. I helped her with understanding by design and using build your own curriculum and a lot of the tools that we're now putting in place. And Idrin did the bulk of the work on her own time outside of the school day. And my role was to keep nudging and asking questions about how honors looks different than regular Chinese. What's different between honors and Chinese? Because initially, what she kept telling me was, well, they're just going to do more. They're going to go a little deeper, and they might move a little bit faster. And so I kept nudging and saying, give me specifics. What does that look like when you say they're going to do more? Can you give me an example? Why quicker, and what level are they going to go to? And so she was struggling a little bit. We actually asked for an extension on some time, and there was something really interesting that happened is that this other work had been going on in the district. Idrin had not been able to attend. Idrin also works at a community college. She's only a part-time teacher for us and spends another part of her day at the community college in her evenings, so it was difficult for her to attend. She was able to work one of their meetings into her schedule, and after that meeting, it's when the curriculum really took shape. So it's a testament to the work they were doing and how that work around the 5 C's and the ACTFL standards really helped the world language teachers conceptualize a framework that's going to work across all world languages. So I want to make sure that that you understand that too, and that Idrin did the bulk of this on her own, and this was the final piece here that really helped pull it all together.
Quick question: what are your numbers? How are they? I mean, is Chinese? It's probably pretty growing in popularity.
It's
I would
growing,
imagine.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I can't give you exact numbers. I don't supervise that department, but the need for the enrichment piece is a testament to the numbers growing. We actually have been attempting to have a full-time Chinese teacher. I'm not sure we're there yet, but I don't think it will be very long before we're in need of it. Oh, she is. We'll see there. I don't supervise that department, so well, there you go.
Yeah, I'd heard like 160 kids or so would sign up for it. Is that a possibility? Did Dr. Havener tell me that maybe? I mean, incredible uptick and interest in that. And just a quick comment, Nick, Marco, thank you very much for all your work and your efforts in leading the team. You know, one of the things I've really noticed over the years is that how the teachers, and I know Dr. Johnny Kerr can be speaking as well and everything regarding the calculus component, but how everybody pulls together and really works hard, and they have the same common goal of, how can we improve a great product, and how, to meet the growing needs of the kids, and so all the extra time and efforts that everybody, not only yourself but everybody else that's on your team and everything through this, just thanks for the efforts. It's real good. Thanks.
Thank you. As Sherry shared, it really is to the credit of the teachers, especially between 3 buildings. The level of collaboration in that department is remarkable and something we celebrate.
Something we talked about last week was the prospect of pushing down some of the world language instruction into the elementary schools. If we are able to do that, and it's a kind of a big if based on all the space concerns we now have, are these curriculum standards flexible enough to help you push that down to the elementary level?
Yes, absolutely, and I was anticipating the question actually from you. but yes, they really offer us a platform to build our program in really any direction, and they really there's so much thought and what put into what they are like today that we really can use them as a platform to start building an elementary school program, if that is something that the board would like for us to do and sees an opportunity and a need to do. But it will help us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I would be remiss here if I didn't acknowledge and recognize and thank all the community members, teachers, administrators who were involved in the curriculum review committee. Everyone wholeheartedly endorsed the world language curriculum changes, and just wanted everybody to know that.
Thank you.
The other languages.
Chris?
Okay, so are we going to take these one at a time, or?
However you'd like to take them in
Let's
order.
take them one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, so your approval is requested for all of the world language curriculum at this time?
This is an action item.
Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the curriculum revisions to world languages 7 through 12. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you.
Very good. And then in continuing our theme of rigor that our young man introduced us to earlier this evening, the next curricular area is art, our AP Art History. And Sherry Culpa is back with us, as well as Mrs. Nancy Grimes.
While I'm up here, I think you all have a postcard inviting you to our AP Studio show at the train station, which got canceled last week due to weather. So if you're free Thursday, 5:30 to 7, there's a little reception, and their artwork is at the train station for this month. I'm here to ask your approval for AP Art History, which is a year-long AP course offering 1 fine arts credits for grades 10 through 12. And this course asks students to analyze artwork in the context of religion and world events, ethnicity, all kinds of things that have happened in our culture and world cultures. So it's a survey course from Paleolithic to contemporary times. Many of you may have taken such a course when you were in college. We hope to reach students that aren't usually in our art department, and we know this will enhance the art careers of our studio students.
I would like to add, Nancy's being very calm and collected up here, but you've been working on this and waiting for this for a long time.
About 2007, I started asking for art history. I think a school our size, I think we've needed this for quite a while. This is something we've been remiss in not having, so I would love to see this pass.
Another great piece of this process is that Jason Hoeing, one of the teachers who worked on the curriculum, he involved our history teachers, Bob Tison, Tim Herrig, some of our upper-level AP teachers, looking at the textbooks that are out there and also looking at the curriculum and getting feedback. So that was a really neat opportunity, and a lot of neat conversation took place as a result of that.
This is the text that was selected by the parent group. They reviewed 4 books. It is big. It weighs 9 pounds. Optimum situation would be that we had a classroom set of text. There is an iPad version, an iBook that comes with this, and we can look into getting the license for each student to have an iBook version.
Nancy, does it count? Will that count as a history class or as?
No, it's a fine arts.
Okay.
It could go either way. We want it as a fine arts. I tried to ask history teachers to teach it when I was really struggling with how to get art history on our campus, and they were too busy doing other things, and we'd love to have it as part of our curriculum. So, but I know other schools have done it both ways, or one or the other.
I just have to tell you, when I was reading through the curriculum, I was like, oh my, what is art history going to be? It was so interesting, and it makes me want to audit the class. And
it
it
really
was
is
just, I
fascinating.
think everybody should have this class before they travel the world. And anyway, I thank you, because you can definitely tell there's a lot of time, love, energy put into this product. It's excellent. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you too. I actually took this class in college at Webster. So to be able, well, just a few, but to be able to take it in high school and not have to pay in college would have been very nice. So thank you again for putting that together.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for all your work and grit and commitment. But I think this is really neat because it's integrative, it's multidisciplinary. And I think for the high school kids really gets them the opportunity to start pulling things together. You know, all too often they learn the various disciplines in isolation, and it's neat to have a capstone or an integrative course where they can see how everything works together.
And we do have students on campus that don't want to get their hands dirty, but they want to get into art, and this would allow them another venue for getting that fine arts credit without being in the studio. So it'll reach a whole different population, I think.
Can I ask a quick question? And you might have mentioned it, and I was looking for it, but what would be the prerequisites for a student to be able to take your course?
There are no prerequisites, 10th grade through 12th. It's heavy writing, so we want them to be 10th graders, not freshmen, so their writing skills are in place.
And I'm particularly excited that you chose a textbook that is available on the iPad, and I'm sure our kids' backs will appreciate the fact that they aren't carrying that back and forth. So
Jason Hoeing really did the work for this, and he has it all ready to go in BYOC, and he's done a wonderful job. So we really need to give Jason the credit.
all right, so your approval is requested.
This is an action item.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving AP Art History, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mrs. Culpa is going to be paired with Steve Jonak to talk about our newest entry in the math department, which is AP Calculus BC.
There you go. Chinese, art history, not calculus. How about this? I'm talking about you. That's pretty amazing. The AP Calculus, there's actually two AP Calculus courses. One is called AB and the other is called BC. The course that we have had at the high school for many years is the AB course, which covers a little bit more than one semester of university calculus. It basically covers Calc 1 at the university level. The BC course, the one that we would like to add, essentially covers the Calc 2 course. So a student who took AB as a junior and then BC as a senior, if they pass the BC exam, they can actually get credit for Calc 1 and Calc 2 at the university level. And students who take the BC test, sorry about all the letters, but if they take the BC test at the end of the year, they actually get an AB sub-score, and only the higher of those scores is reported, much like an ACT or an SAT. So it gives even those students who took AB and then BC another chance to improve their AB score. The course itself, there is some overlap, but it basically adds 4 huge units to what we do in the AB course. It talks about polar functions and vector functions and sequences and series and parametric functions. Different schools handle the BC course differently. We plan to use it as a course that comes after the AB course. Eventually, it can be offered as a standalone course. There are schools who, after a student completing a pre-calculus course of some kind, can enroll in either AB or the BC course. Other schools, the majority of them, offer it, as we plan to, as a follow-on to the AB curriculum. We had planned to institute this course in a couple of years, but the numbers have shown that we're ready to implement it now. We have I teach the AB course right now. I've got like 15 juniors and sophomores who will now be able to, with your approval, be able to take BC in the fall, instead of what we have typically done, which is to farm them out to Merrimack or WashU's evening school or Fonpon, where they take Calc 2 in the evenings or early in the morning if their schedules can allow it. So that's the basic idea. It's a follow-on course. It's basically Calc 2, if any of you have taken that, but she's shaking her head over there, no. Numbers should continue to grow. We currently have like 25 freshmen in our Honors Algebra 2 course, which will take the AB course, the Calc 1 course, as juniors, and then they will all be able to take then this BC course as seniors.
And that's a testament to what's happening at the elementary and middle school
Yes,
levels
very
as well,
much.
the differentiation and providing enrichment for kids who are ready, who have that advanced readiness level. And it's driving the need for this course. If we cannot offer a course like this, really, in our building, we don't have a math course for some of these kids by the time they're seniors. And we want to make sure we can do that we have a math course for kids that we can provide them something. And then the gentleman who spoke at the beginning of the meeting, it's another way for kids to get that college credit. Each of these courses we've added tonight, what we think something of honors Chinese, but this is another way for kids to get that college credit. And so just really pushing that rigor.
Sarah, questions?
Sure. So, okay. So, Mr. Jonek, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I was in your class almost 20 years ago. So,
how'd you do?
I know. So, well, so I have a story. So, I wanted to tell you, I was so excited when I saw you here tonight because I thought, oh my gosh, I think Scott, and I said, is that Mr. Jonek? Because, back when I took your class, we didn't have AP Calculus, but I took your calculus class, and it was by far the most challenging course I took in Kirkwood High School. But you always were there after school helping us, and it was one of the few opportunities that I took with that course. I took advantage of your help. I appreciated your time so much. And then when I went to Indiana University the next year, I enrolled in the calculus course there, and I was tutoring kids in calculus because they were saying, how do you understand this? And I said, because I had the best teacher in the whole world. The following year, I was so prepared. I was so prepared for that class at Indiana, and it was all thanks to you. So this is great, and thank you, 20 years later, for everything you did for me. You are awesome, so thank you. Not to take anything away from Steve, but I also want to add that Jeff Buchar is the teacher who did the bulk of this work, and I want to make sure that he gets credit. He was not able to be here tonight, but Steve started him off and said, hey, we need to work on this course, and he really took it and ran and did all the research and learned how to use BYOC and just...
I had planned to help Jeff. I told him to wait until our next curriculum day, and I could sit down with him because there's also an audit, a college board audit that has to be done. And honestly, a week later, he starts sending me documents, and it was simply, I just had to look through them. So Jeff Guchar deserves many kudos on just the sheer amount of detailed, gritty work that has to be done, to get it approved. So.
You'll be having kids earning credit all over the place, I just have to say. It's great.
And thank you, Mr. Jonek, as well. My son, Christopher, had you, and when he came back his junior year in college and talked to Dr. Havener, and Dr. Havener asked him, is there anything you think, at Kirkwood High School we could make it better? And he suggested Calc BC because he studied computer engineering. And he says, a lot of other schools had offered that, and he didn't have the opportunity to take it at Merrimack due to scheduling. So I think this is going to serve a great need for actually a lot more kids who are in this position to take it. And also, I believe in his class you had you authored the textbook that the students used.
Yeah, the
Will you be authoring this one?
No, I won't be authoring this one. One was enough. Yeah, I wrote the book that we use in our current AP curriculum, in addition to Stewart's, a more traditional book that's the official book that's on, in your documents.
Thank you for all your work.
You're welcome.
And I did have an opportunity to talk to Jeff Gouchard about a week before spring break about this particular topic, and my head was spinning by the time I got done talking. 'Cause, I mean, just impressive stuff, and just, again, this is another example of how we can raise the bar, take it to the next level, and as well as those credits for the universities and everything are so important. But just challenging our students is so key. So I'm looking forward to this. Good stuff.
And if I could just add one last comment. Last year we had 2 students who were in need of this level of math course, and so we actually ended up having them attend, I guess, Merrimack for one and a different program for another student. But at the time, I surveyed our neighboring districts to find out who offered this course. And I believe there was one district, but most of our surrounding districts do not have a course at this level. So I think this says a lot for our math department and for our entire math program, K through 12, that we are moving this many students in this direction. So your approval is requested.
This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving AP Calculus BC, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 4.04, approval for award of contract for NYFER Guidance Center construction. Mr. Jim Wall.
NYFER Middle School, Guidance Center modification and district window replacement. We've already done the district window replacement. Actually, we're just going to talk about the Guidance Center tonight. So the district solicited bids for the interior renovation on the second floor of approximately 2,100 square feet. The building spaces of the building space to convert the former classroom and storage room into a guidance center. In addition, bids were received for replacement of translucent panels in various locations throughout the district. The bid openings were held on Thursday, February 27th, 2014, and 9 bids were received. Now, you already okayed the window, the translucent panels, so we're gonna, our recommendation is to accept the low base bid for NYFER Guidance Center from Ranieri Construction in the amount of $77,100. A 10% contingency of $7,710 to be added, bringing the combined total of $84,810. This project will be funded from the Prop 2 Dedicated Maintenance Fund. $100,000 was budgeted for this project.
This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I've got a couple of questions, Jim. This is a holdover matter. We had asked you to address some of the questions that were raised by members of our community regarding the qualifications of Ranieri Construction, as well as some suggestions, intimations that they weren't paying prevailing wage. What did you find out?
We did some research at the Missouri Labor Board and also called up Better Business Bureau and called up their references, the Department of Labor, State of Missouri, and we found nothing there to indicate that they were not paying prevailing wage. There was some couple of items on OSHA requirements that came back, but nothing really serious that I can see that, and there was nothing there that I would say that would be something that they would not perform a good job for Kirkwood School District. This is a smaller job at $77,000. If it was $1 million plus, we'd probably do a little bit more research into it. This is probably a 6-week project, and it's you know, we can hold off on it. I can put it out to bid again. It's up to the board. It's whatever, but the board wants.
What kind of steps can we take to ensure that prevailing wage is paid throughout the course of the project?
What we do is we look over the prevailing wage. They have to give us a line item prevailing wage record of everybody that works, how many hours they work. We have a project manager and Miss Horton that checks that. I double check it, then it comes up to administration where they check it also. So we double, triple check that.
And we've used Ranieri previously and before, have we?
No, I have not here. Now, they might have worked here in the past, but I've been here for 4 years, and so if they've worked here with us before, I'm not aware of it. But I've called up other school districts that have used them, and it's their references, and they checked out. One was Parkway, one St. Louis City, and all their references checked out. They said they did a good job for them. There was nothing negative to say about them.
So Jim, the document that was handed out to us at the beginning of this meeting was commenting, I believe, on St. Louis Public Schools at Sumner and Roosevelt High. Are you familiar with those situations?
I know. I talked to. There were some painting questions. I think is what was brought up the first time. We talked to the painting contractor in St. Louis that they're referring to. Though that painting contractor said nothing was ever proven. We didn't do anything wrong. They told they're going to tell me that, obviously. And there was nothing judgment against them. It was investigated.
Is this a jurisdictional dispute regarding a sub they hired, or what?
Yeah, it was Ranieri hired a sub. I believe it was Rice Painting, and the sub they were accused of lead abatement at a public school in St. Louis, and that they were not doing it correctly according to OSHA laws, and they were not found guilty of that. That I can find.
Further questions for Mr. Wall? Scott?
No questions, but just a comment. Jim, you and I spoke about 10 days ago, and I'd asked you specifically about the issues that were raised at the last board meeting, and I was one of the, along with Sarah, we'd shown some concern regarding the whole process. I just want to say I'm very comfortable with the feedback that you've received, and I appreciate the extra time and effort to research it and go the extra yard to make sure that we're in the right direction.
We take it very serious when those concerns come up. We want to look at it. We scrutinize everybody that comes through, especially when we get serious concerns like this. And our staff has done a lot of research on it, spent some time on it, and there is some concerns, but I don't think there's anything that I would call it the death wish. That this is, like I said, a smaller job. I think they could do a good job, and that's just a recommendation.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the award for the NYFER Guidance Center construction project to Ranieri Construction, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Next up is 4.05, approval for award of contract for asphalt sealing and striping. Mr. Wall.
Asphalt sealing and striping. The facility department solicited bids for asphalt, crack fill, sealing, striping of all the district parking lot areas and paved playground areas. We received 6 bids. Our recommendation is to accept the low bids from Arch Asphalt in the amount of $11,685, Spencer Contracting in the amount of $4,950, E. Meyer in the amount of $18,268, and parking lot maintenance in the amount of $14,900. The total for this project was $49,803. The funds for this project will be supplied by the maintenance facilities budget, and we budgeted $75,000 for this job. We have done work with all 3 of these contractors before with good results.
This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions for Mr. Wall? I just have an observation. I think our approach to bidding is just a fantastic way to go about bidding out and spending public money. For total work you estimated at $75,000. The way you've done this with almost a a cafeteria approach to selecting the contractors for each job has resulted in significant savings. So kudos to you and your team.
Okay, thank you very much.
On getting this done.
Yeah, and Kirkwood does that. We've been doing it for a while, as I think Mr. Stream recognized the last time we were up here. But it works out for us. It works out for us in a lot. And sometimes, you know, it's whether it does or not all the time is questionable. But most of the time, it works out for us pretty good.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the award of the contract for asphalt sealing and striping, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Next up is 4.06, approval of award of contract for Vista and Huff renovation. Mr. Wall.
Huff Vista renovation, the counseling center renovation, and district door replacement. The district solicited bids for the interior renovation of the second floor of the Huff building of approximately 600 square feet of the building area to create a small conference rooms within the existing counseling center. This is up in room 201. In addition, there were bids solicited for a replacement of doors, frames, hardware, and various others throughout the school district. 8 bids were received. Our recommendation to accept the low bid on the Huff Vista Counseling Center bids from ICS Construction in the amount of $19,464, and to accept the low bid for the door replacement from HG Doors in the amount of $22,740 for a total of $42,204. A 10% contingency of $4,220.40 will be added, bringing the combined total of $46,424.40. We had $85,000 budgeted for these projects, and it will be used the money will come from the Prop 2 dedicated maintenance fund. We have done work with both of these contractors with good results over the years.
This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Wall?
No, just one comment that the bid from ICS is significantly lower than any other bid there, so it's.
We called them in on it. We question it too. When we get something that low, Ms. Kelly, what we do is we bring them in and say, really, this is what you guys got everything? We want to make sure. And they did. They felt comfortable with it. They had some ways to save some money, and so we'll benefit from it.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the award of the contract for Vista and Huff as indicated by Mr. Wall, please indicate your assent by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion passes. Next up, 4.07, approval for the purchase of a John Deere tractor. Mr. Wall.
John Deere tractor basically for the high school. The facility department solicited bids from dealerships for one new John Deere Gator 6x4 utility vehicle with turf tires, cargo bed, hard-sided cab, heater, and snowplow to replace the one of the district's Gator as a trade-in. 3 bids were received. Our recommendation is to purchase the John Deere 6x4 utility vehicle from the lowest bidder, Herb Turf. The total cost after the trade-in of one district Gator is $14,949.57. The funds for this will be supplied by the maintenance budget.
This is an action item.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the acquisition of the John Deere tractor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
Salt tears these things up. That's what really kills them.
Next up with Mr. Wall, again, and reprising his role, is 4.08. Approval of the award for the contract for the band, journalism, atlas, and scene shop renovation.
Kirkwood High School. The district solicited bids for a renovation of approximately 17,000 square feet of interior instructional and different spaces in the following locations: the band room, journalism department, atlas department, lecture halls, and drama department. Also included is a 2,000 square foot building addition to the main building to be utilized as a drama department new scene shop. 7 bids were received. Our recommendation is to accept the low base bid and alternate 3 from ICS Construction Services in the amount of $2,054,000. A 10% contingency will be added in the amount of $205,400 for a grand total of $2,259,400. This work will be performed this summer. ICS, we have done work with them, obviously, and they've done a good job for us.
Just so I understand and the rest of the board understands what we're going to review. This is the base bid on and omits, it does not include either scene shop option. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
But it does include upgrades to the music room. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? Okay, this is an action item.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions for Mr. Wall or Mr. Romay? And I would ask if Mr. Romay could put up the PDF that's attached.
Go ahead, Darnell.
Just Mr. Wall, is this the same? ICS seemed to come in pretty low, that they have sort of the same savings with this project as
Yeah.
well?
Well, they've done work with it before, and we brought them in on this. They really went after this project. They wanted it. I knew they wanted it. They came in and talked to us after, obviously, we brought them in after they came in with the lowest bid. And they said they've restructured the way they do business now in their offices. They've streamlined some things. And so they're getting more aggressive in their bidding practices. And they did a couple of nice projects for us here. Was there some bumps in the road? Sure, you'd have that with all construction, though. But, I mean, you know, we feel comfortable with ICS.
Mr. Wall, I note that there's about 1.1 million coming out of the maintenance fund for this project.
Yes, sir.
But is there not some HVAC work that's already was included in that number that we've already kind of approved and reviewed as part of the 5-year maintenance plan? And if that's the case, how much roughly is in there?
About $600,000. Well, we're going to be replacing the rooftop units with the new construction. We was going to replace those. We had them targeted in the 5-year plan. It was going to cost roughly about $600,000 either this year or a couple of years down the road. So that was one of the reasons why the money come out. And Mr. Romay can probably maybe even elaborate on that a little bit.
And those are all original units that are almost 25 years old.
25 years old.
So, Mr. Romay, if I'm reading these numbers correctly, of the 2.8 million, really the only money coming out of the maintenance fund that was in the aggregate of what we've already discussed is about $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would just like to say that I plan to vote for this tonight. In my mind, with the exception of the Science Center, this is the first time we've updated the academic areas at the high school in at least 10 years, and I think perhaps even longer. I believe we need to continue to invest in our facilities. The journalism and band programs are two areas that attract a diverse group of kids. These are programs of great distinction, and we need to support them. And I'm particularly proud of the administration and the staff's ability to find ways to fund this project. The fact that we're saving $1.2 million as part of the bond refinancing, which makes up the majority or the greater of our contribution, says a lot. And the fact that we're doing it, taking only $500,000, which I realize is a large number, but taking that amount from the maintenance fund is a compliment to the work of the staff. So I'm proud to support this project tonight.
I want to say I echo what Scott's saying, because a few years ago we've added on to every elementary school, and eventually all of those children are going to funnel into the high school. And every school, I've asked the same question: are you at capacity? Well, the reasoning is because I want people to see, we're growing. We offer a good product, and people are taking advantage of it, and we're very happy about that. But all those kids eventually are going to funnel into the high school, and we have got to find ways to get more room up there, as we did with the elementary and the middle school. So I'm very excited about this project.
Okay, thanks. Just some comments. So, I have had a lot of trouble with this, but I agree with what Darnell you said and Scott you said. At the end of the day, these improvements, no doubt about it, will have a tremendous impact on student achievement and the learning experiences for the kids at Kirkwood High School. And so I will be voting in favor of this recommendation tonight because I think it's important. I don't want to send a message that was ever, opposed to the projects in and of themselves. I definitely would have liked to, for the timing to have been different. I would have liked to have seen the financing be different. And I probably can't stress enough that I would have liked for the whole planning process to have been a little different. And I guess with that said, I hope that we can learn from this, that if we continue to insist on rushing projects of this size and continue the practice of, switching funding and having so many changes happening so quickly, we can never expect the public to keep up with that. So I would just like to offer that up, and I hope the administration will keep that in mind moving forward.
I've got one question about storage. The expansion of the band room space is going to, as far as I understand it, knock out some current storage space. Well, what are we going to do about the storage of those uniforms and other material at the high school?
We're looking at some storage units, but obviously, if we have uniforms and stuff, we're going to have to get air-conditioned ones. So that's one of the options we have. We're talking about a couple of months, so it shouldn't raise the cost up that much. But that's what we're looking at right now. And there's probably storage out there that we can take them to and leave them there. But they do need to have a conditioned air storage. So that's what we're looking into it. I mean, there's possibilities out there with bringing a storage unit on site and leave them there, and they're an air-conditioned unit. It'll be like a big box basically, but it's got air conditioning, and heating, ventilation, and everything.
A couple of things. First off, I would like to get a little bit better clarification, and Dr. Williams, you might have to chime in a little bit with this as well. When we had first gone out with this concept and everything, we had a couple different ideas regarding either a small scene shop or an enlarged scene shop, if you will, as part of the whole project. Now we're going back and we're saying, well, we're not going to go after that at this point. We're going to go after the true band and journalism piece and everything. And I guess I'm not going to say concern, but I just want to make sure we're doing this properly, in that we're not missing out on an opportunity to get an entire project done if we think that in a year from now we may have to go back and start digging again around this project to do the scene shop or something similar to that. Thereby, our total cost over the period of the next 18 months might be a lot more by doing it in pieces as opposed to doing it all right now. So I just need some clarification. Are we okay with not doing anything related to the scene shop at this time? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page on that.
Well, I think if we had the resources to do it all at once, it would be probably ideal to do it all at once. But I think because of our cash flow and our wanting to not spend down our maintenance fund, we're willing to wait and look at different options next year. And there may be a whole other kinds of options in terms of storage for those uniforms than doubling the size of the scene shop. When we started this project, the scene shop wasn't even part of the project. And so that added expense is part of what escalated the whole cost of the project. So we were trying to find ways to reduce the cost of this project to bring it more in line with what our budget was. And this does that. So
I just needed to hear it. Just to make sure everything was all right with that. Well, and just a comment then. With that being said, concur with the other thoughts. And Scott, you eloquently said it, that this is a great opportunity to expand our educational horizons for the children there at the high school, because everybody does funnel through the high school. That's where everybody does go through. And I'm excited as one of my last votes on this board to be able to approve this. So.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually excited to approve this as well as one of my last votes. I think the process has been a little bit messy, but it has been over 9 months. We've ended up at the spot, which I think is a great outcome for everybody. I mean, the journalism, just based on the diagram, is going to be a showpiece for the district to really kind of how modern journalism is taught now and needs to be taught. The band program, which has just been a great for the entire district in the area, finally get some resources. And then also don't shortchange Atlas. I mean, that has a really dramatic impact on kids, and expanding that and giving that a little bit better. So I think it's a very fiscally responsible approach. The impact that we get relative to the dollars we're spending, we're focused on the right areas. Scaling back on the scene shop just because relative to the benefit we're getting for the amount of dollars. So I'm happy where we came at, and any process can be a little bit messy, but as long as you get to the right outcome, that's what's important, and we got to the right outcome here, so I'm excited.
Very good.
I just want to echo Andy's comments and Scott's comments, but I also want to say I did have a chance to meet with the teachers and the administrators and to talk to them, because when I hear comments about, oh, the teachers just want this, I just wanted to make one point that when you talk to these teachers and you ask them why they need it and what they will do with it, I mean, they are so passionate. They've been thinking Mitch Eden has been thinking for more than 8 years of how he will improve the teaching of these students and bring our curriculum and bring our education in journalism into the 21st century. And the band, I can personally attest to, next year we will have over 100 more students than the band room, almost 100 students more than what the band room was originally designed for. So, I mean, it is time. But I also want to concur with Sarah. I do think the process was really messy, and I just hope that we can learn from this and that we can kind of, get better first estimates and include contingencies and things in them, and I hope that our master facility planning process is the first step in kind of looking at that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the award of the contract for band journalism and Atlas renovation to ICS Construction Services. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Wall.
Thank you.
I'd like a motion, please.
Can I make a motion that we extend the meeting at least past the 9 o'clock hour as set by our bylaws?
We have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to extend the meeting. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Next up, 4.09, approval of grading changes in grades 4 and 5. Dr. Chris Raker.
Thank you, and even though you gave us an extension, I'm going to plan to make this short. So last month I brought to you some ideas about a request that the elementary principals and teachers have been sharing with me the entire time, the 3 years that I have been in this position, and I think these requests predate my role as well. They have a very strong hope that they will be able to move to the same grading system for all students in kindergarten through 5th grade, which means that we would use a rubric system, a 1 through 4 rubric system. And at that time, you requested that I get a little bit of information, and so I did talk to my colleagues at all of our contiguous high-performing districts, and it was very interesting to me to see exactly where they are in the process, and essentially, we're all having the same conversation and moving in the same direction. Most of the districts have a rubric or a standards-based grade, at least in the primary. For some, they have it through 4th grade. And they are looking to move to a rubrics or standards-based grade K through 5. And the reason being is that the belief is that students and parents really understand what the expectations are and understand that in order to move forward in their learning, there are specific criteria to meet. The other request you made is that we bring this to the community and make sure that this is something that is indeed palatable and comfortable for our community. And I believe that has been done all along at the building level. But we utilized the Curriculum Review Committee, which is a representative group of those 3 different types of members, and all of them being pretty active in our community. And Heidi Ford facilitated that meeting, and she asked for feedback about this change. And I'll just read a few of the responses. And EJ, I know you were there if you want to add anything from that meeting. One comment was, it is easiest for students to identify areas where they need to work when using a rubric score. With letter grades, it's harder to distinguish where learning needs to progress. Another comment, letter grades don't provide information that allows students to be self-reflective. There is an element of subjectivity in assigning a letter grade when everything is measured along a rubric and progressing toward a standard. And finally, a question, what do students truly know about their learning from an A, B, C, or D? So there was, from what I understand, not at the meeting, but I was told that there is fairly strong consensus that this is probably a move towards the positive in terms of communicating exactly where a student is and where they need to go in order to improve, and that indeed is what we believe is the goal of all grades. So
Yeah, I concur. I'm very much in favor of this change. The rubric serves as a diagnostic tool for the teachers to really and help the student understand where they have a weakness, maybe in some fundamental elements of a subject. And so it's important for them to be able to focus early on in the course year on what those strengths and weaknesses are and bring the child up throughout the year. So I'm very much in favor of this.
okay, so your approval is requested.
Approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the grading change in grades 4 and 5, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Next up, 5.01, future events. Tomorrow, April 8th, is Election Day. Please fulfill your civic duty and get out and vote. Friday, April 11th, is Staff Development Day. There'll be an early dismissal. Next Monday, the 14th, we'll be convening at a special board meeting here at 5 p.m. Friday, April 18th at 7:30 a.m. is the Webster Kirkwood Maplewood Legislative Advocacy Meeting at Webster Groves. On the 21st at 6 p.m. is a recognition of board retirees at the North Middle Library. Next Monday the 21st at 6:45 will be our board reorganization meeting, where we will welcome on board Julie Backer and Jana Jacobs. Also at 7 p.m. on the 21st will be our first regular board meeting with our reconstituted board. Dr. Williams, is there a need for a closed meeting?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
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 I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned.